I would like to say thanks for everyone for coming to the convention, and welcome to this, another, I think this is about the 17th convention of the Heart of America. And we try to have something that will benefit education to those people attending. I think that we will have that opportunity again this year to see some very educational program and some very nice glass. Doyle Green said a while ago, one of whose glasses was, he wanted to have bragging rights to this glass up here, so I assured him it wasn't mine. But anyway, we do, last year during one of the programs, Singleton Bailey offered to bring some Millersburg, the ones with the fish and the peacocks on it. So we accepted his offer to bring his glass. Singleton Bailey is from Loris, South Carolina. He packed the glass in South Carolina and brought it all the way out. So we appreciate it very much, Singleton, for bringing the glass and sharing with us this opportunity to see this much glass assembled. We put together a little bit of a riser here to display it, and after we started setting it out, it didn't look like we had enough, so we had to push it together a little bit closer so we could get it all up there on the table. And I don't think that there's any, everything he brought is out there. So we hope that you enjoy the program. That this evening there is another program. Garth Irby will be giving us a program on little sauces in the same room. I believe that's at 7 o'clock. And then tomorrow morning there will be a program on red glass that will be put on by Dick Sinclair, Joyce Seeley, and Bob Laird. So, and there may be some others that have some glass in, but they're the ones that we're giving the credit to at this time. So, but anyway, we'll turn the program over to Singleton, and he will go through this program, and if he understands what he has up here, well, he'll tell us about it. So Singleton, it's yours.
Thanks, Bob. I always enjoy listening to you, so I don't do this often, so I haven't got any notes, I haven't made any plans. I just want to get up here and I want us all to have a good time today. And to kind of break the ice, I'd like to tell you a couple of jokes to kind of point out something in my talk. If I want you all to ask me questions, and sometimes when you ask a question, your minds don't meet. You're not on the same wavelength, but let's try. But an example of minds not being on the same wavelength. There was a older gentleman in my hometown that married a real young girl, and on the night of their honeymoon, instead of him having chest pains, it was her having chest pains. And so he was out in the country, but they had we have a emergency room hospital in town, so he rushed her in town and to the intern, and the intern took her into the room and examined the young bride with the severe chest pains. And after he examined her, he came out to talk to her older husband, and he said, "I've examined your wife, and she has acute angina." And the man replied, "Yes, I know. I've seen it twice." So, if you ask me a question, I'll try to be on the same wavelength as you, but that's not always possible. Another example of that. A mother was riding down the road in a car with her toddler, and the lady had been making a lot of turns, and the little toddler had heard her say, or heard the turning signal when it was put on, dinka, 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 and so girl asked her mother, she said, what is that noise I hear? And she says, I put that on to turn that on to let the people behind me know which way I'm turning. And the toddler replied to her, well, they can't hear that. So again, I'll try to meet minds on this. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am from Lori, South Carolina. It's a small town. And I've been collecting some form of carnival glass or dealing in it since I was a teenager. I am married. I was married in '76, so that's what, going on 14 years maybe. And I have one son who will be 9 Monday, so I'm going to have to leave a little early to get back for his birthday on Monday, so I do want to be home for that. So I'm going to have to leave tomorrow. I wish I could stay here with you, but it's about a 3-day drive for me. We could do it in 2, but it's two 12-hour days of driving, and that's a little more than I want to do. So I'm going to leave tomorrow and head back, but I've had a good time, and I always think that it's no fun having glass unless you can share with other people and have the enthusiasm, share your enthusiasm with other people. There's one thing I would like to say is Mr. Fenton here? Is Frank here? There he is. I do want to publicly thank Mr. Frank Fenton for sharing all his knowledge with us, and not only sharing, he's been called on so many times and done so many things, but not only sharing his knowledge with us, but the manner in which he has done it. I just think he sets a wonderful example for us all, and I want to... And I'd like to talk to you about that order of Fenton that I've got in. I'm teasing about that. I was serious about the first one. Okay, I really don't know where to get started. Since I'm on this end, I'll just start here. I really didn't prepare a talk to give you a talk on too much of the history of Millersburg. There are 2 books on Millersburg, one by Bill Edwards, which you could check out. Of course, you do know it was founded by John Fenton, and the factory was opened in 1909. It was short-lived, only in operation about 2 years. I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with the story. If you're not, we can, if you ask any questions, I'll try to tell you. If not, you can check the book here. And also, Jack Wilson, who had a tremendous Millersburg collection and did a lot of research notes. His notes are very valuable. I would suggest anybody that is a serious carnival glass collector, they need this for their library, where you'll know what is and what isn't. He's got it broken down to different chapters, what aren't Millersburg patterns, what are, and it's very informative. He's got all the different colors and comments on the sizes and what's there, and I would recommend that.
Where do you get that?
Some of the clubs had these for sale.
Pennsylvania Club had them their last
Okay,
convention a year ago.
Pennsylvania Club. Maybe you can check with them. But that's a good reference material.
Keystone Club, you should say.
Keystone, okay. Yes, that's right. Okay, now what I have up here today are 3 basic patterns. One is the what I call the Millersburg Peacock, and I refer to the Millersburg Peacock as the pieces that do not have the B, such as these pieces here. They do not have the B. The ones that I refer to as peacock and urn are the ones that do have the B. And when I'm talking about a B, there's a little butterfly or bead at the end of the peacock's beak. Now there is a variant which these other pieces do not have the beading on the urn that I referred to, but the mystery bowl, this 9-inch size here, and this little sauce, and the compotes do have beading on the urn. That is referred to as a variant. I don't really like the word variant, but I don't know of anything else better than to say than that. That's what a lot of the authors have used. Okay, we mentioned the peacock and urn, and the variant. Let me just start by talking about these pieces right here. This is the master ice cream shape in peacock and urn. This right here, I don't know if you can tell it, but this is a blue bowl. To my knowledge, it's the only blue peacock and urn ice cream bowl that I know of. There are some other blue bowls around. They're rare, and by all means, this is not all the peacock and urn and peacock pieces that are made. There are things missing here, and shapes and colors missing. Then you have the amethyst. Now, the story on this piece, I'm going to stand up here. This piece here on the peacock and urn, usually when you find this, most always, this will be satin iridescence. This is only the second one I've ever seen that was radium. But I have never seen a satin in the peacock pieces. I haven't, in this ice cream bowl here. So I don't understand why all the peacock and urns would be satin and all the peacocks would be, radium.
About the dates, when they were made.
Well, that's probably why. But there's always an exception, like this is a radium, so I don't really haven't got a clear picture on that, because we're only talking a very short time anyway, 2 years, so I find it difficult to narrow that down. Then of these colors, the marigold is probably the most common, and then the amethyst, and then the green, and then of course the blue. Okay, in the peacock pieces, the most common is the amethyst, then maybe the green, and then the marigold. Okay, and let me talk about this. This is very important. I was glad to get this because there's 2 of these that I know of. This is how the peacock pieces, this is a peacock bowl, this is how they came out of the mold. In other words, this has not been handled. This is exactly how it came out of the mold. And so this banana boat, this rose bowl, these cuspidors, and these ice cream bowls, all of these size peacock pieces, this is how they all came out of the mold, and then formed a cuspidor or rose bowl, banana boat. And I was really glad to get that, because it makes it easy to explain to people how the glass can be shaped in different colors. Oh yeah, you got your berry bowls here. These are peacock berry bowls. And these 3, the amethyst again is the most common. Then maybe the marigold, and then the green. And it seems that the small individual berry dishes are much rarer in for this than the big bowls are. That I don't understand, because the master usually has 6 berry dishes, so you would think that there would be, since there were more produced, there would be more surviving. But the matching berry dish for this is extremely rare, very seldom found. These are available. The marigold can be found, but they're not as rare as the green. Then you have the ruffled peacock. Here's one here. Here's one I just added to the collection just a moment ago. You saw it go in, and making sure I had that covered. Now, this piece here, the banana boat shape, is a Vaseline. And there is a amethyst known in this also, banana boat shape, amethyst. I don't have that. In the rose bowl here, this is a Vaseline rose bowl. There is an amethyst also known in the rose bowl. These are the only two cuspidors that I'm aware of in the peacock. Next, let me go to the peacock and urn pieces, that again being the pieces with the bead on them. You have the ice cream shape, this 3-in-1 edge shape, and the 6 ruffle shape. And here is a bowl that I got here 2 years ago, I believe. And this is a very, I've never seen another one like this. This is a very bowl shape like the peacock over here, but this one is peacock and urn. And again, most of these you find are satin, but again, this is radium. So that's kind of a double rarity to have this in radium and also for it to be in a berry bowl. I've never seen another one of those. So when you start talking about these pieces, it's kind of hard to say which is rare, because really, in its own class, all of these are hard to come by. The color on Millersburg, these pieces I collect varies. Here is probably the worst example of Millersburg color. It's kind of silvery, very iridizing, and on up to the radium, which is so pretty. I'm always trying to upgrade a color to a better color. That's what I did on that piece. Let me go down here again. Here is a blue ruffled bowl. The blue is extremely rare in any Millersburg. Some patterns are more common than others in blue, but overall blue Millersburg is very rare. A lot of people have trouble, or they ask about how can you tell a Millersburg peacock from a Fenton peacock. On the reverse, the best way is look on the back. The Millersburg has the panels. On the Fenton you have your the beaded berry exterior on a lot of those pieces. And also on the Millersburg you have a star base. So once you learn that, that's very easy to recognize what pieces you have. These 9-inch bowls right here are the this is one I said has such poor iridescence. These are called the mystery bowl is because one time, before everybody really knew, like we know today, they weren't sure who made this, but now we know it's obviously Millersburg. And they called it, well, that bowl's a mystery. We don't know who did that, if it was Fenton or Millersburg, but now we know that this is Millersburg, and the term mystery bowl has stuck on this particular bowl. So this size here with the beading on the urn is referred to the mystery bowl, and it comes in all other colors. I haven't seen a Vaseline, but maybe there's a Vaseline out there. And I think I have all of the shapes other than the I'm missing a green ice cream bowl and a right here you see all 4 of the colors. You've got the green, the amethyst, the blue, and the marigold, amethyst, blue, and green. Go over here. I'll turn one of these compotes over where you can look at it since you've seen it. Now here is a bowl that is referred to the shotgun pattern. This again is one of those what you might call crazy names. You look at this and you never know why this is called a shotgun. The first time I had heard the term shotgun was when I went to the Wilson auction, and I said, please tell me how in the world do you call this a shotgun bowl? I don't see the shotgun well. What I was told was because of the urn, how it's curved at the end, it looks like the end of a nozzle of a shotgun. And so that's why this urn, or this bowl is called a shotgun bowl. This is about the same size as a courthouse bowl. All these shaped bowls here are called a shotgun. That's usually when you say shotgun, a Millersburg collector will know which bowl you're talking about, because you've got so many different kind of peacock bowls that you need to talk about. So we call this shotgun. In this, the most common color is green, the next is amethyst, and marigold is the rarest. I have the marigold here. It is a really fine piece. I had the amethyst bowl a few years ago and sold it, and then I decided I'd start collecting them again, and I haven't been able to find out who I sold it to or buy it back. But so I'm looking for the amethyst one. I believe I heard John Britt saying he was looking for one too. My mouth's getting dry. Let's give the peacocks a rest right now, and let's talk about the trout and fly and the big fish. I think it's always interesting to know why a person collects a certain pattern of glass. I've always been a fisherman since I was a small child, or since I was a child, and so when the combination of a fish on a piece of pretty glass, which I liked, came together, so I decided, well, I've got to thank you. The first pattern I got in the trout and fly was this. We bought a collection, and that was in it. I said, that sure is a pretty bowl. I love that radium iridescence. I believe that's the first time I'd really seen a piece of radium Millersburg. So then I had to have the amethyst, and then I had to have a marigold, and then I had to have the different shapes. And naturally, if you got the trout and fly, you got to get the big fish. So then I started looking for the big fish pieces. But actually, the first piece of peacock pattern was this bow right here. I bought it through the mail. I got a list from somebody, and I ordered this piece. And I didn't really know what a Millersburg peacock looked like. But when I got that, it's a pastel marigold. I said, my. I really like that. It was such a pretty bow, not to put down anybody else that made a peacock pattern, but I don't believe there's anybody else that has mold workmanship as good as this. Maybe in somebody's mind it might be just as good, but I don't believe there's none better workmanship of the peacock than this piece is here. So then that got me into the peacocks. And I like all Millersburg, but this is basically what I had to confine my collection to. There are some Vaseline big fish pieces. I believe there's 4 Vaseline big fish bowls. What is unusual about that, right, the water too fast, is that all 4 of those Vaseline pieces of big fish, they're all different shapes. I don't understand that. Unless there was a run made of them, they just said, just make them all in different shapes. You would think if there were 4 Vaseline big fish bowls that you would have, maybe all the same thing, but all 4, to my knowledge, are different shapes. One day I hope to own a Vaseline big fish. I do not know of a Vaseline trout and fly. According to Jack Wilson's research notes, an old-time collector once said he owned 2 blue trout and fly bowls, but said he got rid of them because they had poor iridescence. So there is rumor of a blue trout and fly. I can't confirm that I've ever really heard of one. The trout and fly, there are two chop plates in the trout and fly in amethyst, and that would be a real fine in any color. One of those is damaged, the other one is perfect. The shapes in the trout and fly, the rarer shapes are the square, as in most other patterns. The other shapes, the next rarest would probably be the ice cream shape, and it might be a toss-up, which is the 3-in-1 edge and the 6 rough are probably the more common pieces you find. You can find the trout and fly and in radium and satin, as well as a big fish. You find it in radium and satin. Some of these pieces I would like to upgrade. This square green big fish does not even have some iridescence on the fish. So I'm sure there's a better example than that, but to date I haven't been able to upgrade on that piece. But there are some pieces here that I'd really like you to look at closely if you come up. This green bowl here, and this amethyst bowl here, and this amethyst bowl here, and that green and that marigold are superior pieces. They would be a 10 on my list from 1 to 10. I haven't said much about the sauce dishes because it's really confusing to start talking about all the different kinds of sauce dish. Sometimes you hear talk about a peacock proof, and I don't believe I have one. They say the peacock proof is one of the peacock's leg is missing, and this one has 2 legs, so it must not be the peacock proof. But also, you have 2 basic types of these sauce dishes. You have some that have a pedestal with no urn, and then others that have a pedestal with an urn. So why we call them both peacock and urn, I don't know. So there are some gaps in our terminology that we use on some of these pieces, and maybe in 10 years from now we'll refer to this as another type bowl. But this does not have the urn on it, the top urn. It has the pole or base, but it doesn't have the urn. This one does. These little bowls, don't let them fool you because they're little. Some of these little pieces can bring big prices, just as big a price as some of these larger pieces. It all depends on the shape. I will call this an ice cream shape, and this berry dish, and this a berry dish. John, is that what you would, where's John?
That's what I call it.
That's what you, this ice cream shape, and this is a berry dish. You can see the difference. Here's the marigold ice cream shape. Here's a green ice cream shape. Now, these are both radium, and they're very pretty, but this one here does not have the urn, and this one does. And I've got some pieces that, you know, I had another green one here. Yes, that's down here, I believe. It's good over here. Okay, here's 2 ice cream shaped bowls. Here's one with the urn. Here's one without the urn. Now, why that is, I don't know. And I have some sets that some of them are one way and some are the other way. But why they were done that way, I don't know. Here's the green bowl that goes with the master. I don't have these side by side, but you can use your imagination. That's the individual that goes with that bowl. And this one right here, I would put it with the master there. And this is the blue. Turn around this way. This is a blue, which is very hard to find. This is also comes in ice cream shape. And I got a call Monday night, and a fella said he got one, and so I hope to have that when I get home, a blue ice cream shape. I like to tell, I'm not as quick a thinker as my son is. He'll be 9 Monday. About 2 or 3 years ago, I'll tell you a little story on him. He and my wife came home. It was late afternoon, and it was almost dark, and it was beginning to sprinkle rain, and Cheryl wanted to get him in the house and start supper. So he hopped out of the car and started to pick his bicycle up to go bicycle riding. Cheryl said, "No, Miles," his name is Miles. She said, "You are not going bicycle riding. It's almost dark. It's raining outside. You're coming in the house." He was standing there with his handlebars in his hand, ready to go. And when she told him that, he just took that bicycle and threw it down, just as hard as he could. And so that made my wife mad. And so she told him, she said, "All right, for that reason, you're coming on in the house and just go into your room for throwing that bicycle down." And immediately he said to her, he said, "I was just trying to get the dirt out of my handlebars." That one, I heard that and I had to laugh at that myself. It's hard to discipline when he came up with something like that. So, but I can't think as fast as he can. But I was trying to see what I'd forgotten. Like I say, I didn't prepare any notes because I didn't know how it would be better to talk on it, just to take it down or be running around trying to find everything by note cards. I didn't really know. The chop plates, you might notice, I might not have mentioned those, are very rare. I believe there might be more of the marigold than the amethyst. The amethyst, there's probably maybe 5, and there's probably that many marigold or more. Those are 2 rare pieces and hard to find. I might not have commented on this little jewel here. This is a big fish rose bowl. It's the only one known, and that was found in Ohio, and I had the chance to buy that, and I bought it. I didn't let it go. I have lost some big fish, so you can talk about the one that got away. They sometimes get away, and since I like to fish, I know how that is. Ray, you like to fish, so you know what I mean when we talk about one that got away. I'm still fishing for that 10-pound bass. All my friends catch them all the time, but I never can catch one. I'm up to a 6-pounder if I can get a 10-pounder is going on the wall. I've got people that catch 10-pounders and they release them. I've kind of gone through it. The radium color is usually more desirable than the satin. Of course, you can find some very beautiful satin pieces. Look at this Triton fly bowl here. It's satin. I don't believe you'll find a prettier satin piece of Millersburg than this piece right here if you look at it. So just because it's satin doesn't mean it's inferior, but usually the radium pieces are prettier pieces to the eye than the satin pieces.
It almost looks red, but they didn't have any red.
There's no red. I know of no red Millersburg, to my knowledge. You have the blue amethyst, and the blue is rare, and then the 3 basic colors: amethyst, green, and marigold. And there are a couple of white pieces known, and then the rare Vaseline, and I believe that's it. You don't have all the pastels like you have in Fenton and Northwood and Aqua Opals, and you don't have that. To my knowledge, none of these have been reproduced. Sometimes the Vaseline pieces, most of the Vaseline pieces look Vaseline. These that I have look Vaseline. That's the banana boat and the rose bowl. But there are some pieces that will glow under black light, and I don't understand that. They don't look Vaseline, but will glow. So I guess they could be called Vaseline, but they don't look Vaseline. But then these do look Vaseline, and they do glow. I apologize for my speech not being very organized, but I thought I'd try to do it on the cuff, and just talk about it. And that's basically what I've tried to do. I haven't done too much of organizing. I'm sure it shows. But I'll be happy to answer any questions now about the glass. The main thing I want to do is just give you a little bit of basic information. If you'd rather wait and talk to me individually after I'm talking, that's fine, or I'll be glad to do it now. I'll be here because I've got to pack all this stuff up. But I do want you to come up and look. It might take a while for everybody to come by. There might need to be some type of, we didn't discuss it, but would there be any particular order people would need to come up here, Bob, to look at this? Like filing by, or what would you think? Or just let them come up if they wish to see it. But let's see if there's any question while you're thinking about that. Has anybody got any questions that I can answer? Yes, Tom.
Are there any known tri-cornered fish or cup?
Yes, that's a good question. The question was, are there any tri-cornered fish pieces? To my knowledge, there are no. There are two tri-cornered trout and fly pieces. There's an amethyst bowl and a green bowl. Those are the only two that I'm familiar with. They're both in Ohio. The same person has them. A tri-cornered green and a tri-cornered amethyst. I believe one of the Vaseline big fish pieces is tri-cornered. If I remember correctly, one of the, and what I'm thinking about that also, there is in one of the books, and one of you may own it. One of you people out there may own it, but there is a Vaseline tri-cornered peacock bowl. And maybe someone here owns it. I don't know who owns that, but it's written about in the books, a Vaseline tri-cornered peacock bowl. I'd like to add that to this collection. That would be nice. Yes?
Are those the only two spittoons known, or are there more?
I was hoping you say you had that piece. Raised your hand, I said, I found it. Yes, those are the only two cuspidors that I know of. The amethyst and the green and the marigold. That amethyst bowl was sold, if I remember correctly, was sold in the Wilson auction, and was bought by a couple, and later they decided to disperse the collection a very short time after that, and that was resold by John Woody, and I put a bid in and I got it, and I didn't have the money to pay for it. So I'm still doing what I did then. I robbed Peter to pay Paul.
Walk at the drugstore.
And yeah. So what I usually do is, this other Carnival glass over here would be sacrificed to buy this Carnival glass over there. So that's basically what I've done over the years. I've owned other pieces of Millersburg, but I have had to continually sell other pieces of glass to replace with these other patterns. But another question.
Singleton, I have a comment.
Yes.
You talked about the berry dishes and the sauce dishes and how they're so rare. I think if you realize that back when they sold those things, Millersburg didn't have any cataloging. They sold primarily through the jobbers, through people like Butler Brothers. And if you look in the old Butler Brothers catalogs, you see the bowls sold by themselves. They're illustrated as bowls and not as berry sets. So that I think that's the reason you got a lot more bowls out there than you have berry sets.
Thank you. I didn't realize that, and I appreciate you adding that to the talk. That will certainly explain it. I guess because because this shape here matches the master bowl, I guess it's been a natural conclusion to assume that that's a set. But if they weren't sold that way, that would certainly explain why the small ones are so much harder to find.
What they would do probably would be to make it as a set.
Right.
Then when they took it to the Butler Brothers buyer, he says, there's too many pieces of glass here, I can't get the
I
price.
see.
I can sell the bowl by itself, they can't sell the whole set.
I see.
So he only buys the bowl and illustrates them. That's
That's
what I
interesting.
think, that's theory.
That's good with me. Any other questions? I know when after this is all over and I start packing this up, I'm gonna say, why didn't I tell them about that, and why didn't I tell them about that? But,
Why did nobody else use the radium finish?
that might be a good answer, a good question for Mr. Fenton. The question was, why did no one else use a radium finish? Other companies use a radium finish.
Well, they didn't use it, in the first place, I think they didn't publicize it like John did. John was a great guy who could talk your pockets inside out, and he was a promoter, and he wanted something different than the other companies who were already making Carnival Glass. They had their product, they were producing it, and so he conceived of the idea of calling this radium glass and calling this special finish, which really isn't very special, but he made it special. Excuse me for, that's the wrong way to say that. He made it special and advertised it that way as a radium finish. And the other fellows probably just kept on making them the same old way. They could have made them the same kind of finish if they wanted to.
Yes.
Did they make the radium finish from day one when they opened, or did that come along later?
I think it came along later. Somebody else might know more about that.
This is what I've heard, like the peacock, the big peacock, the urn bowl, was much deeper color than some of the other. I've been told for years that was one of the first pieces made. It's got more depth of color. Is this what you heard, Mr. Fenton?
Well, I really haven't heard that. I've just deduced it.
There's a lot I don't know, so I'm learning too. So this is a continual process for me. Yes.
Why wasn't there more blue made? You found quite a bit of Fenton in the blue.
Well, the only way I could answer that is if Millersburg had stayed in production as long as some of the other companies had, blue could have been the most common color. But since they were only in production 2 years, naturally he didn't get to finish all the things he had hoped to finish. The molds for all this glass was sold for scrap. Yes.
I'm just going to remark that the diving dolphin, that beautiful bowl, I think that's a Sowerby bowl. Or Sowerby.
Well, there are two diving dolphins. There's one that is like when you said that is English, and then there is a but they're two different patterns entirely, but they're both called the same thing. Now the Millersburg has the Rosalind, I believe, interior, which the Sowerby does not. The English version does not.
But what I was going to say is Sowerby one that I saw had a beautiful radiant finish in a lavender. It was really pretty.
Well, I know what you're saying. Like just this week, I saw a beautiful radium finish on a Northwood piece.
Yeah.
So that's what you might just say is a coincidence. You might say, or like Mr. Fenton said, that a lot of companies were making the same type glass, but maybe you found more in this line than you would in others. Yes.
Where was Millersburg produced, and how long was it in production?
It was in Millersburg, Ohio, and probably the most famous piece of, or one of the most well-known Millersburg pieces is the Millersburg Courthouse. And if you go to Millersburg, Ohio today, the courthouse is basically the same as you see it in the bowl. The story on that is when the plant was built, John Fenton had that bowl designed to give it out to all the investors and town people. It's kind of like an opening souvenir, is what I've been told. It's not really a rare bowl, but it's a very desirable bowl and it commands a good price. And most of them you see are radium iridescent, so very pretty. But Millersburg, Ohio, in production was about 2 years. Very short-lived company. It's a shame that that if the company could have been better run, they could have stayed in business, and no telling what else we could have seen. But it's a shame that he wasn't as good a businessman as he was a glass maker. If he could have been left making the glass or supervising the glass made, and then have somebody to control him, it would have been a good situation, but it wasn't that way, I don't think. Yes.
What is your all-time favorite piece?
Question is, what is my all-time favorite piece? Well, I believe I'd have to say the amethyst peacock cuspidor. Let me hold that up where y'all can see the side of it.
That's my favorite too.
Is that because your aim isn't very good?
That's got a very wide, this one is shaped different than this one here. You can see this marigold has a much better spittoon shape than the amethyst. But it shows the peacock off much better than this one does, because this one's more closed in. But I can remember looking at a photograph of this in Edward's book, and I'm sorry to say, it's a bad word, but coveting this bowl.
Was that spittoon made from the same mold as, well, which one, the chop blade or the?
No, the chop blade is peacock and urn,
Oh, yeah,
which has the bee.
Yeah.
And the cuspidor is the peacock without the bee, and this is how it would look when it came out of the mold, I think. Wouldn't you think, Mr. Fenton?
That's the way it came out of the mold.
This is the way it came out of the mold. So all those pieces were handled and made into the different shapes, but
We call that the regular shape.
regular shape.
Regular shape.
Singleton?
Yes.
I know you didn't bring any bases, but do you have a people's base?
No, I don't have a people's base, and I just don't have one. Pardon?
One of those people?
Well, I've tried to limit my coveting. I was at a mall the other day this week, and I heard a lady say, she says, I wish my pocketbook was as big as my wants, and I thought, I said, well, you know, you just have to make your wants as big as your pocketbook. I say that myself. But a lot of this has come over a period of years, and a lot of times I've bought stuff, and the only way I could buy it was to sell off the other glass that I'd either found it, you know, from looking at it and getting a good price on it, and making a little bit on this piece, making a little bit on that piece, and that's basically how I was able to build it up.
What was the best buy that you had up there?
Best Buy. Well, one time, years ago, I advertised in the Antique Trader for a period of time, Millersburg Big Fish Bowls wanted. And I got a call from a lady. She said she had a Millersburg Big Fish Bowl, and she wanted me to give her a price on it. And I said, well, gosh, I just really hate to price other people's merchandise, because I don't want to insult you. I'd rather, you know, as sure as you put a price on it. And she said $125. Well, I figured that, I'd pay $125 for a big fishbowl, an amethyst. And so when I got it, it's the first time I had seen a radium big fishbowl, and it was this piece right here. And you can see that iridescence. And so that's probably the best buy that I've gotten on a piece. Of course, $125 isn't cheap, but today that bowl would probably bring $500 more. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you keep all of this on display in your home?
Yes, it's all on display. I have some cabinets we display it in. If any of y'all are ever in South Carolina on vacation, especially in Myrtle Beach, I'm only a short drive from Myrtle Beach. I live 20 miles from the coast. In a small town of Loris, it's population 2,600 people. And I'm easy to find. Just go to the drugstore on Main Street there in Loris and ask for Singleton, and I'll pop up. And we'll go to the house and look at some glass. But the glass is fun, but I do try to keep it in perspective. I try to rule the glass. I don't try to let the glass rule me. It's not all consuming in my life. It's much more important things I think a ray, potash and lime. Just remember all this is potash and lime, and there's more important things than this glass. But I think all the friendships that we establish and things that we can share and have fun at these conventions and be profitable, it makes it all worthwhile. And I've met a lot of great people, and it's really enjoyable to come and have a good fellowship with people that have the same interests that you do, and work together and for the advancement of the hobby and educate everybody, and maybe everybody can make a little money and have a good time and enjoy themselves. Any other questions? Yes.
That compote, what's the pattern, what's the colors, what's the availability, or what's it related to?
Okay, there are three colors in this. There's a amethyst that I don't have. There is an amethyst on display in the Fenton Museum. And a friend of mine in North Carolina has an amethyst one that's the prettiest one I've seen. I haven't been able to add one to my collection. Those have really gone up in price over the years. 2 years ago they were selling for $700, and now they're probably twice that or more if you're lucky enough to find one when they change hands. A lot of times I like to say, what if the chop plate was made in the blue? What if that would be nice, or a green chop plate. So there's a lot of games you can play like that. Any other questions? Yes, Harold.
How would you rate that giant peacock and palm as to availability of color?
Availability of color?
Right.
Okay, the most common is green by far. And the next rarest, I believe, is amethyst. Amethyst. And the rarest, I would think, is the marigold. So I'm kind of on both ends. I got to hit the middle. Any other questions? I know somebody can think of something else. Well, if that's all, I can't believe it. I've been up here an hour. That's,